It's a really challenging time in your 20s. You have all this pressure from outside, you have this pressure from inside, and there's so many insecurities and anxiety about what you're doing, if you're doing it the right way, why you're doing it. So I'm turning 30 this year.
Happy birthday, Grandma!
I thought I would give some bits of advice over things I've learned in my 20s. A lot of these things I've only figured out over the last year or two because it's taken me all of my 20s to figure out what I was doing wrong. So here's 6 bits of advice that I wish I'd known in my 20s. Number 1, stop beating yourself up over where you are versus where you think you should be. Life is too short on the one hand to wish it away, always thinking about the future, but it is long enough on the other hand to be patient and to actually enjoy some of the side quests and the detours that come about. If you're always looking forward, you're never going to enjoy that moment that you were looking forward to in the past. You have to just stop and embrace that moment for what it is. It's easier said than done, and I'm as guilty as anyone of always looking at the next thing. I've been in a rush my whole life. I'm always hoping to be there, not where I am now. But actually, my 20s were full of adventure and opportunity and challenges and all these moments and memories that I'm so grateful for. But at the time, was I completely appreciating them or was I always looking forward? It's hard to say. So I think one of the most important things you can do is to just forget about looking forward all the time. Yes, it's important to think ahead and to plan, but have moments where you just allow yourself to be, just embrace the moment. A little exercise I did a short while back was to write down a list of all the things that I'd done or achieved that if I told my younger self, I would be impressed by because I didn't think that would be me or I would have done that thing. And it put it into context a little bit of actually these things that I'm achieving, that I'm getting to do, they're not only good enough for where I am, but they're amazing for the younger self to hear. I think it's ridiculous that there's this pressure to know who you are and what you want to do by the time you're 18, leaving school. You finish university in a course that you've had to start making decisions for since you were 13, 14. That's crazy to me. Later years is where you actually figure out what it is you enjoy, what it is that you don't enjoy. Trying to have things figured out in your 20s defeats the whole point of your 20s. The whole point is to just see what you like, what you enjoy. So stop beating yourself up about where you are versus where you want to be. The second thing that I wish I'd figured out a bit early in my 20s is to realize that no one cares about your insecurities because they're too busy thinking about their own. There's an expression called the 20-40-60 rule, and it goes like this. So when you're 20, you worry about what everyone thinks. When you're 40, you stop worrying about what everyone thinks. And when you're 60, you realize no one was thinking about you the whole time. We overthink so many things because we worry about what other people are thinking or gonna say. There's a couple of people who, whenever I put out new work, I know they're going to attack it. But then when I stop and I have a conversation with them, it always comes out that there's an insecurity their end about their work. And actually at the end of the conversation, turns out that there was never real any negative thoughts. It was just that insecurity on their part. And once you realize that, and you realize that everyone's too worried about their insecurities, that can help liberate you to embrace yours, you know? I mean, if I'd told myself that a few years back, maybe I'd have started this earlier rather than at the age of 29. But why does it matter? You know, I'm here now. When you let the fear of other people's opinions stop you chasing your dream, they've already won. The only way that you can win is to start chasing it. Lesson number 3 is to embrace collaboration over individual recognition. We all like being recognized for our work. We like that feeling of we've done a really good job. And that's why so many of us chase our dreams by ourselves, because we're greedy, really. We want all of that praise, or we want all of the financial reward, or whatever it is. But there's 2 flaws with that. The first one being that you're going to get further with collaboration because other people's strengths can come in and support you and help get you to where you want to be. And in return, by you helping others, you're going to reward yourself. And the second part is, even if you do achieve it, if you get to where you want to get to all on your own, so what? When you get there, you're not going to have anyone to celebrate that with. There's not going to be a bromance that you can have everyone creating memes about. Why struggle so much on your own when you can involve others and enjoy the experience, actually build memories with other people? Many people in their 20s are trying to start their own business now, which is great, and that should 100% be celebrated. But wouldn't it just be so much more of a fun and rewarding experience to do that with someone else? Yes, obviously you have to make sure it's someone that you can work with and that you trust. But I really find, now that I've started working more collaboratively in film, actually rather than trying to do everything, working with a producer, an editor, a cinematographer, stepping away from the camera, I enjoy it so much because I have people to cherish that memory with and also to help overcome the challenges with. That is a lesson that I really wish I'd picked up way back in the start of my 20s, because people will want to be involved with whatever it is you're doing. You just have to give them the opportunity. So lesson number 3 is try and choose collaboration over individual recognition. Now, when you're in your 20s, you're always going to be in competition, just inevitably, whether that is for a job or for romance or a house, whatever you find yourself in competition for. And the best thing you can have is an extra skill set, an extra thing about you that is unique. And that leads me to the 4th tip, which is to invest in yourself. You are your best asset. If you think of yourself as a product, if you don't revamp that product, do new iterations or give it new features, it's not going to age particularly well. The more you can work on yourself, the more you can invest in yourself, the stronger you as a product will be. By investing in yourself, you carry those skills for life, and it's not like a camera that's going to depreciate. It's only going to give you new platforms, new ways of getting in somewhere. And that doesn't mean it has to be a skill in terms of knowing how to code or knowing a particular bit of software.
The chief of computers will call me a genius.
It can be just any life skill that makes you different, makes you stand out. Albert Einstein once said, "Wisdom is not a product of schooling, but of the lifelong attempt to acquire it." As you get older, you'll realize that you never really stop learning. In fact, you probably will enjoy it more. University, I hated it. I couldn't wait to be finished. And then throughout my 20s, I found myself actually beginning to miss that freedom to just learn, to not have financial pressure or all these other elements about your career going on. So for me, as a 29-year-old filmmaker who decided to go and do a science A-level with no experience in science whatsoever, I don't know how that is going to work out in my favor, but I know that that gives me an edge. There's so many platforms that you can learn new skills, whether that's finding a local group, maybe a scuba diving group or a badminton group. It could be online courses, even just YouTube or Skillshare. I actually have a course on Skillshare, which you can watch if you want, but it's a great place to learn how to draw or to cook or to dance or any other creative element like that. One of my personal favorite ways to learn is to read. It's just read and read and read. There's so many good books out there that not only can entertain and educate you, but they're also just good for you to stop and have a bit of quiet away from a digital world. I really enjoy grabbing a book, sitting down and getting lost in it for half an hour. The 5th bit of advice I want to offer you is if you want to let go of your past, you have to shake its hand and look it in the eye. So many things in life, whether that's from our insecurities or things we've done that we regret or things that have been done to us that we regret. It's quite hard to get over those things if you're constantly running away because it's constantly following behind you. Whereas if you can stop and confront it and actually face what it is and deal with it, you can then leave it there and move forward. I've always been one of those people who overthought the past, decisions I'd made or things I'd said, and it took up so much time with the present, just getting trapped in the past. Same with the future, I was either in one or the other, I was never really present. And even now that is something I'm struggling to do, but I am far better at it than I was when I was 22. Now if it's something more serious, then yeah, maybe talk to someone who's, properly trained to deal with that. But if it's just things like you said something to your parent or your friend and you feel bad about it even years later, deal with that, confront it. A friend and I, we have a bit of a troubled past, and this year that friendship hit rock bottom. And there was two options here: to let the friendship die, or to confront it and put everything on the table and really discuss it. And now we have a much stronger friendship than we did before. But that wouldn't have happened if we had been too afraid to actually talk about things that had happened in the past and deal with those issues. You don't have to deal with it all at the same time. You know, maybe there's one thing you want to deal with in chunks, or maybe there's lots of things you feel you can deal with in one go. But having that focus to actually say, do you know what? I'm going to think about this, I'm going to deal with it and move beyond it, move forward. Now, the final tip I want to offer is a bit more practical than the rest, and this is to try and get outdoors every day. When I'm stuck in my head and I've been working all day and it's really been a frustrating day, I'll go for a walk. In fact, that's what I'm planning to do once I finish this video. I've had to stop about 20 times because of roadworks going on outside. And once this is done, I'm just gonna stop and go for a walk. Because it clears the head, it clears all of that internal angst locked up in your chest. And it's a really simple, in fact, it's the easiest, cheapest remedy out there for so many problems. Just try and get outdoors if you can once a day. But don't think of it as going for a run or going for a walk as a chore. Think of it as just a moment. You know, I'm just gonna go outside. It could just be go stand in the garden or walk down the street, go post something in the post box. You know, maybe write a letter to an old friend and give yourself a reason to get out of the house. It's been shown to reduce anxiety and depression. Anything like that, I think, is gonna set you up really well for your 30s and 40s and beyond. As you get older, you find yourself staying indoors more and more. And then when you end up working, you feel trapped indoors 8 hours a day. You come home, you just want to chill out. But that's a really unhealthy way of living. Try and fit in this time if you can, and it will help give you a lease of life and actually relax and feel a bit more at peace with yourself. Your 20s are not an easy time. You are overthinking everything, you're feeling the pressure from everyone. But it's also a time that if you allow yourself, you can really enjoy and just accept it's okay to not know where you're going. It's okay to not know even where you are. That sense of being lost is where the journey is where the excitement is. If you never get lost in life, then it's going to be a bit of a boring journey, you know. I mean, think about it, 70 years of knowing exactly where you're going, like, who wants that? So don't let your 20s go by wishing you were 30 or 40 or 50, wishing you were already somewhere. There are so many things that we can't control in life, and the sooner we confront that, the quicker we can give that headspace to something more useful, something more enjoyable, like learning your new skill or going out for a walk. The key thing is to know that whoever you are, whatever you're doing, you're absolutely fine doing that and being that person. I'll see you soon.